Sunday Night Football, two teams with big aspirations collide. Jared Goff and the Lions take on C.J. Stroud and the Texans Sunday 7 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. He's RG3, former NFL quarterback, Rookie of the Year, Heisman winner, and check out his podcast, Out of Pocket, with RG3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Oh, he's got the black cowboy hat on. You got a Sean Taylor throwback jersey as well. Look at you. Okay. All right.
Hey, man. I appreciate you having me on the show, Dan. How you doing, brother?
Good. What's the black cowboy hat for?
Black cowboy hat. Honestly, I've been wearing it for a few months now, being at home, creating content, connecting with the fans. So just felt like it was time to bring the cowboy hat on the Dan Patrick Show, especially with a lot of the stuff that's going on in the league right now. I just felt very cowboy-ish, if you know what I mean.
Okay, but it feels like you're anti-cowboy if you're wearing the black hat.
I mean, I did play for the Washington Commanders. I wouldn't say I'm anti-cowboy. I just like to live in reality. And we all know who the biggest loser of the trade deadline were.
And who was that?
No, it's Dallas Cowboys, 100%. Dan, for the Cowboys to come away with Jonathan Mingo, who I love Jonathan Mingo, the player, was very high on him coming out and think that he can still be a great contributor in the NFL. But for them to give up a fourth-round pick to get him, when the Kansas City Chiefs gave up a fifth rounder to get seven-time, I think it was 1,000-yard receiver DeAndre Hopkins. The Ravens gave up a fifth-round pick to get Deontay Johnson. Who else gave up some picks to get a receiver? It was the Steelers gave up a fifth-round pick to get Mike Williams. Now, everyone will say, hey, those guys are older, expiring contracts, but every single NFL executive that I talked to told me that it was a bad deal for the Cowboys to give up so much to get Jonathan Mingo. So when we talked about the Cowboys in the offseason, it was, hey, they're all in. And I just don't understand how they're making these moves now that their quarterback is on IR, with the Dak Prescott not being available. And they think that this move, signing or trading for Jonathan Mingo, is going to make their fan base believe in what they're doing. It's not. It's going to make everybody rebel and continue to laugh at the Cowboys.
What'd you make of the Commanders and what they did with Marshawn Lattimore?
I mean, it's glorious. To me, it was the stamp of approval for Adam Peters being the NFL Executive of the Year. I think he's been making win move after win move from the very beginning of the offseason. You talk about bringing in offensive production that's veteran-led with Zach Ertz at tight end and Austin Eckler at running back. Noah Brown, a late pickup, was their leading receiver last week. And then you also talk about what he did on the defense side of the ball, bringing in Bobby Wagner to make him the centerpiece of the Commanders' defense, with Dan Quinn essentially running that defense in the style that both of them know together. Bringing in Dante Fowler Jr., who's playing out of his mind. Frankie Louvo has also added an identity to that defense and to that locker room. Adam Peters is made move after move, including drafting Jaden Daniels, that has put Washington in position to win this year. He basically turned Jahan Dotson into Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know how you couldn't say that at this point in the season, this guy is the executive of the year. And I'm just so happy for the team. I'm happy for the fans. The fans in Washington, D.C. deserve this type of winner at 7-2. And it further proves my point of what I made earlier this year about them being the best situation for a young quarterback, because coaching matters and structure matters, and they have all of that locked down right now.
Yeah, I can't argue with what he's done and the pieces that he's added. I would probably push back and say Brett Veach with the Chiefs they lose players and he just plugs and plays, man. They plug and play, and they play well. Anybody could have had these guys, and they bring them in, and that's why if you're looking at an MVP, it wouldn't be Patrick Mahomes. It would be Andy Reid and Brett Veach with what they're doing with this talent. I think It's been incredible.
Yeah, Dan, it's been nothing short of amazing. And they're trying to accomplish something different. If we were giving away the executive of the year away at the end of the season, I think we could all agree that if the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat for the first time in NFL history, then it goes to Brett Veach. I think from the Commanders' point of view, it's more of where they came from. The Chiefs have already been at the top and are staying at the top. The Commanders have forced their way to 7-2 in a year where people didn't even think they would be contenders in their own division, and right now they're leading that division. But to speak of the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, the move they made, I do think they're the winners. Obviously I'm wearing the Commanders jersey or Redskins jersey. Fans out there still want that name back, but that's neither here nor there. I'm wearing the Commanders jersey, but I fully understand that the Kansas City Chiefs are the team that won the trade deadline because they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. He's a receiver that helps them get closer to that three-peat because it gives them two chain movers on offense. You saw what Kelsey did this past week, 14 catches, 100 yards. Having DeAndre Hopkins there allows Mahomes to continue to have this moment of like his BS meter, like not his BS meter, his I don't give a shit meter is off the radar right now. He's throwing a bunch of interceptions. You saw the throw that he made down the field to DeAndre Hopkins to make that catch. That's trust. And when you've had a receiver for 2 weeks and you're already doing those types of things, I completely understand why D-Hop is posting pictures of Randy Moss and Tom Brady, because these two could have that impact.
He's RG3. You can check out his podcast, Out of Pocket with RG3. It's available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. We stumbled upon this question that you probably didn't think you would be answering today.
Okay.
You can start your team with Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers.
Man, I mean, I'm starting it with Peyton Manning. I like all these guys. I think Peyton Manning is one of the greatest ever. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest ever. I think for me, when you're building a team, you want to build the culture. And I think that Peyton Manning, over the course of his career, had less issues with the media, in the locker room.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I think that part of it would make you pick Peyton Manning. From a talent perspective, no, I believe that Aaron Rodgers is overtly more talented than Peyton was. But when it comes to their personalities, when you think of Peyton Manning, you think of commercials and him being funny, his massive forehead, whatever you want to think about, right? But when you think of Aaron Rodgers, if you go negative, it's some of the locker room distractions. It's the darkness retreats. It's the missing of off-season workouts at times, even though I didn't have a problem with that this past off-season because he was there every single day for all the other days of the off-season. So I would just say their ability to manage the media is something that is a big deal when it comes to being a franchise quarterback. So I would start it with Peyton Manning.
If I threw Brady in there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go with Tom Brady. I mean, the guy's got 7 rings. Come on.
I'm just looking at if we just did talent.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron's got to be the most talented quarterback who's probably ever played.
I would disagree just because of Patrick Mahomes. Just because of Mahomes, and I don't think that's recency bias. I think that he's proven over the years of his career, that he is the most talented quarterback we have ever seen. He can do everything Rodgers does, he can do everything Manning does, and he can do everything Brady does. And he's on track to go break Brady's record of Super Bowl championships. So I would say it's Mahomes, but after that, I think Aaron is certainly within the top 5. There's some guys that have Michael Vick. One of the most talented quarterbacks ever. Accomplished? No. Yeah, Aaron's more accomplished. But there's some guys out there that have been super talented that maybe haven't put up the same numbers as Aaron.
The college football playoffs, the brackets came out.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you got Indiana against Tennessee, Boise State, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, opening round, Notre Dame, Penn State. And then you can't help but notice, waiting in the quarterfinals is BYU here. People they're gonna lose their minds if you have Texas or Alabama, these schools, the blue bloods, and BYU is there waiting. They would be waiting for the winner of Boise State and Ohio State in the quarterfinals. What do you make of the first showing of the rankings?
I just think what you just mentioned, Dan, is exactly why it didn't matter if it was 4 teams, 12 teams, or 32 teams. People are always going to have a problem with whatever the end result ends up becoming. BYU's earned that spot to be and have a bye week with the way that they've played, and no one should be upset about that. the beauty to me of the 12-team playoff is the fact that we're going to see matchups that we traditionally wouldn't see at higher stakes. Not in the regular season, not the first week of the season, but these are going to give teams like a Boise State with Aston Genty, who is the leader for the Heisman Trophy right now, despite popular opinion or the waves of support behind other players. This guy's on pace to break Barry Sanders' rushing record, which is unheard of. So I want to see those matchups, even if it is against one of the vaunted blue blood programs. They still have to go out and earn that week in, week out in the college football playoff when the stakes are at their highest. A couple of years ago, who saw TCU with Max Duggan having an opportunity to play for a national championship?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did. So I think that's the beauty of it. College football is getting closer and closer to March Madness. We just can't have that many games because obviously these kids can't play a 30-game season.
Yeah, I think we're eventually going to get to the NFL model, and I think you're going to have these teams that are on the West Coast. So the Pac-12 teams, now in the Big Ten, they're going to be playing regional again. So we're going to go back to this eventually, where you'll have teams in the Midwest, teams in the East, Southeast, and it'd be just like the NFL. And you're going to be playing each other twice, and then you'll play, the Midwest one year. It'll be that model. I think we'll have, maybe 40 teams, and, there's going to be revenue sharing and everything that goes along with that. What was the most money? What was the best offer you got from a school coming out of high school?
They were not paying when I was playing, okay? Because Dad, if they were paying when I was playing, my family is financially secure and very well off. But the amount of money that we'd have been able to bring in at that time would have been astronomical. I will tell you a story though. I did get pranked one time. One of my offensive linemen, we were about to play Texas A&M my freshman year, big rival. Obviously Baylor and A&M don't play anymore, but big rivalry at the time, right down the road from each other. And he told me, hey, last year when we won this game, I came back to my apartment and there was like $50,000 in a duffel bag out front of my apartment. And I'm like, okay. He's like, hey man, if we win this game, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened to you. So we win the game. I throw for like 3 touchdowns. We're balling out. We blow them out. I literally sprinted back to my apartment, Dan. I was so ready to see that duffel bag of $50K. And when I got back to my apartment, my offensive lineman was sitting in the parking lot of his truck laughing. It was the funniest thing for me. But like I always tell people, if you think that you would not have taken money if it was offered to you, especially if you're a kid like myself who wasn't well off, you're lying to yourself. That's not a moral thing. A lot of the guys that talk on TV, that were players, they took money in their time. But I didn't get any of those offers. And if I did, obviously, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. But I didn't get any of those offers, unfortunately. And that's just being honest. We got to be honest with each other here.
Okay, I know. I'm just surprised that nobody's offering you like a car. No car offer.
No car offer. The only offer I ever got that was material was like a job to like go work at a law firm, because I went to school for political science, and that was my degree. That's what I got my undergrad degree in. So one school had like offered me a job at a law firm in the off season or in the summer, which is also illegal. It was illegal at the time. So I turned that down because I didn't want to lose my eligibility. But I didn't get any car offers or anything like that. Now, I am not saying that there aren't some people that I know that did, but I am not going to snitch on them.
What's the best offer? You don't have to mention a name. Like this guy got taken care of. He got what?
Oh, they were making $500,000 a year. So back then.
Yeah,
back then.
So
yeah, back then. So
okay.
that was 2008 when I came out. So back then they were making $500,000 a year. This was not at Baylor, by the way. No one at Baylor was making.
Of course not.
The compliance team at Baylor, top notch. I got a free pizza one time, and they made me go back and pay for the pizza. Okay, so I don't know how they even found out I got the free pizza, but they found out I got the free pizza.
Yeah, but imagine the Ohio State guys with Terrell Pryor, where they're trading gear for tattoos. Like nowadays, Like if you say that nowadays, you're like, wait a minute, they got in trouble for that? Yeah, and their coach got fired, Jim Tressel.
Yes, you're spot on, and the thing about it is it's so crazy when I hear people talk about the wild wild west that college football is. It's always been the wild wild west. It's now just legal, and people can be more forthcoming, and they can track that information with NIL earnings that not everybody loves. But understand that what you see now in the forefront was happening behind the scenes at a lot of major and massive blue blood programs well before it became public.
Good to talk to you again. Thanks for sharing.
No, I appreciate you guys. God bless.
RG3, Out of Pocket, his podcast, RG3 on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast.